Hey everyone, in this video, I'm gonna show you the DFAM Thing Plus Eurorack edition. There's also a standalone edition that you can check out if you're not into Eurorack, but you still want all these features and control over the DFAM. It's made by a small outfit out of Australia, and to order it, you have to contact them directly. The link's in the description, all that stuff. I'll link to their website. So I've done a lot of content on the DFAM. I did a whole tutorial series. Towards the end of that tutorial series, I was kind of trying to embrace the limitations of the DFAM as part of its charm. And, you know, I'm kind of over that. There were some basic things like the lack of a reset button and having to scroll all the way back or to the end, step 8, every time you stopped a whole sequence. And also just not being able to change the number of steps in the sequence. I mean, the sequencer itself was pretty basic. And as I've expanded and put it into my modular rack, all those limitations started really bugging me. And there are lots of other limitations that I hear people talk about all the time, like the lack of MIDI control and things like that. Well, the DFAM Thing Plus kind of solves all of those problems. So what does it do? Basically, everything that you've ever wanted the DFAM to do, the DFAM Plus allows you to do it, including the ability to control which steps are played. You can do it either through CV or through MIDI, so you can create really complex sequences and patterns. It opens up things so much. I'm really excited to show it to you. In this video, I'm going to show you how it works. Actually, I have no idea how it works, but I'll show you how to use it. Okay, so let's dive into that. Okay, so I've got it here in my rack. It's right next to the DFAM. Right now, let me just show you what I have programmed in the DFAM. Yeah, it is what it is. That's the classic DFAM sound. So here is what we have to do to set it up. So first of all, let me say that for some reason on my video, I checked it a bunch of times, the screen does not look as clear as it does in real life. The blue kind of came out like a teal. I'm going to try and fix that. But if you're watching this right now, then it doesn't look accurate. It's very, very easy to read. And this is like a dark blue, and right here where the step counter is just very easy to read. So it's a little bit harder on the video, but whatever, you'll still get the idea. So just the layout of the screen, these are your two main controls, and the encoders you can push down to select things. Tempo knob, the outs are circled in white, the ins are blank. And to hook up this to the DFAM, it's very simple. You go from the advance out to the advance in, and that's pretty much it. So first things first, we're gonna have to get it to sync up together. We want to tell the DFAM Plus where step 1 is. You have to do it once. So we're gonna go ahead and go all the way over to our step 1. I'm gonna turn on the sequencer, and over here, I can go down to set step 1, push the encoder, and it says step 1. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and click the run button. And I'll set it back to normal. So right now, it is set to an internal clock. You can use this switch right here to change the clock. And whenever I push run, it plays the DFAM. So something I just want to point out real quick, when you stop it, like I stopped here on step 7, when you start it up again, it starts right back over at 1. So watch. Pretty cool stuff. So right there, that's awesome. If you're playing with just the DFAM as the clock source, you can instead use the DFAM Plus, and it resets it back to the beginning. And to help sync it up with other modules, you can use these outputs. The cycle will send off a burst or a trigger at the end of one time through the sequence. The clock is just a multiple of the clock, so you can sync other gear to it. And then the run stop, it'll send out a high voltage when the run is on, and it'll go back down to 0 when it's off. So you can use those to sync up to other gear. Let's check out the other modes real quick. So right now I'm set into normal mode where it's just going to play through. To switch the different modes or directions of the sequencer, you can turn this knob and then click it. You can do this while it's playing too, but so right now I have it set to reverse. And there's bounce. Oops, I forgot to push the encoder. So I go to set bounce, and then you push it to actually change it. And that's going to be like a pendulum. It's going to go back and forth. And we'll just go through these real quick. There's odd and even. Where of course it goes through the odd steps and the even steps. A shuffle, watch this is kind of cool. And of course we have random. So right there, that adds a lot of versatility to the DFAM. Okay, so I'm back into normal mode. And I want to show too that you can actually change the number of steps of the sequencer really easy. That's this encoder. So let's just change it down to maybe 5 steps. You click it. Now right up here it says 5 in the brackets, and we have a 5-step sequence. So that's really handy as well. It's pretty cool. That's definitely adds a lot of versatility to the sequencer. It kind of stinks to be stuck with just 8 steps. If you want to have it controlled from an external source, so I often like to use PAMs as my clock source for my whole modular system. So here we would go to trigger in, and we want to set it to external. Now watch this. When you do this, there's something you have to be aware of, is that I'm going to set it to back to normal. So we'll go set normal and click it. And now when I push this, oops, you got to click on run just like you do on the DFAM. Notice how when I stopped it, it stayed at 6. So, and if I click it again, it just picks up where it left off. So that's one thing. If you're running it from an external clock, you got to reset it. So on PAMs, I have output 3 set to, let me just show you. PAMs is set, output 3 is set to stop. And so I'm going to put that into the reset in. That's reset in. So now whenever I push the stop button, it'll send off a trigger to the DFAM Thing Plus, which will know to when you start it back up, it'll start right back up at 1. So I've stopped it, and now I want it, when next time I hit it to start it, we want it to start right back at 1. Awesome. I mean, that alone is worth the price of this module. I can't even tell you, on my last album that I made, it really messed me up a whole bunch of times because I would stop this with PAMs. That was my main clock source. And it was really frustrating how sometimes I would forget to turn this off and have it cycle it back. So that right there is fantastic and something that I'll use a lot. Just to show you a couple more features, I'm going to go back to the internal clock. So I'm going to shut this off and go internal clock, and we'll unhook PAMs. Now this is the micro timing and multi-steps. So how these work is you can turn them on by just pressing a short press like this. But to get to the menu where you change things, you hold it down. I hope you can read this, but so what you can do is you can actually adjust the micro timing of each step. So if we wanted to say plus, we'll just make it really wonky. We'll set that to there, plus 42, and we'll set step 3 to -20. I'll set this to something else. So now it's going, and to get out of there, right now it's saved in there. So if I go back in, it's still there, but it's not turned on yet. Yet to turn it on, you have to go like that. So it's kind of hard to tell, but it kind of holds things back and just jumps things up. All right, and so then we also have the multi-trigger here. And what that can do is you can set it to trigger certain steps a whole bunch of times. So right now I have a bunch of random numbers set in there. Let's actually, just to make it really obvious, I'll set them all to 1, except for step 5. So step 5 will go 7 times, and then we'll do step 8 3 times. So watch how this works. So it's on right now. So those are kind of some interesting features too. You can also play it with swing if you're using the internal clock. I'm going to use this mostly for external clock and for the CV mode. Let me show you what that's all about. The CV mode and the MIDI in mode kind of works the same. You can choose individual steps of the sequencer and you can sequence those. So you could have it play like step 1, 4, 4, 3, 5, 2, 1, or whatever you want. And you can control that through MIDI, or you can control that using CV. So it basically functions the same way. I'm going to show you with CV since we're right here. So I'm going to use this Korg SQ64 to do it. What you want to do is, but you could use anything like a key step or whatever. You could even use something like this. But it helps to have specific notes that you can program. So I'm going to send the pitch out into volts per octave, and I'm going to send the gate into the trigger in. Now, what I'm going to want to do is, again, set it to step 1 to start, and we'll turn that on. And then I'm going to switch this up to MIDI, even though I'm using the CV mode, and scroll this down to CV mode. We're going to click that on, and then if you'll notice, now here are the lit up notes, or the notes of the C scale. I can actually play my C scale. Let's see if I can do this in a way that you can see it. But you can see C plays the first step, D, E, F, G, A, A sharp, and B. So it's the notes of the C major scale with an A sharp right here for step 7. And then you can just program in your sequence to go ahead and play, and it'll play anything you want. So I have a sequence programmed in. So, I mean, that just opens up all kinds of possibilities. I mean, right there, that was a 16-step sequence, but it really is just so awesome. So it just gives you a tremendous amount of control. It's such a useful tool. Yeah, cool. So I was using this CV to control it. I'm sending it through a quantizer at the notes that work for it, and I can control the steps and kind of randomize things that way too. So yeah, you get the idea. It's just awesome. So Check it out. The link's in the description, and it's Serendipity Modulars, the DFAM Thing Plus Euro Rack Edition. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.